Major funding for these broadcasts has been provided by grants from New York Community Bank, AmTrust Title Insurance Company, Perfect Building Maintenance, M&T Bank, Customers Bank, Marks Paneth LLP, Capital One Bank, Collins Building Services, Meridian Capital Group. Additional support has been provided by grants from AKA Hotel Residences Corman Communities, Ariel Property Advisors, Amarant Bank, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Briarwood Organization, Chase Commercial Mortgage Lending, Chase Commercial Term Lending, Citizens Bank, Dime Community Bank, Douglaston Development Levine Builders, Flushing Bank, Friedman LLP, Handro Properties LLC, Handler Real Estate Organization, Hodges Ward Elliott INC, Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, John Casamatides Red Apple Group, Keysight Capital Partners, Matone Group, New Banks, Newmark Knight Frank, Ocean First Bank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Rockefeller Group, Rosewood Realty Services, Stonehenge NYC, SVN CPEX Real Estate Services, Tierra CRG, the Meringer Family Foundation, and these friends. Monticello, New York, Mount Sinai School of Nursing, Manhasset, Long Island, and probably more trips to Israel than anyone that I've ever known.
Over 300.
Over 300. I have Marlene Post, a community activist, a philanthropist, an individual involved with charities for many, many years, and I'm happy she's here. So tell me about your parents. When they came over, let's talk about your father's side first.
My father's side of the family came from Austria, Hungary, that area. We have no documentation to...
Who came, grandpa or great-grandpa? Who came first?
It would have been my grandfather. He came to America in the teens. My grandmother came shortly after, also from the same area. And they had a family. I believe there were 7 children originally. 5 survived.
This is the people initially in the Bronx?
They lived in Manhattan initially. I guess that's where everybody came to.
Right.
And then they moved to the Bronx years later.
Okay, this is on...
Daddy's side.
Daddy's side.
Daddy's
okay.
side.
So what Grandpa do for a living? Is he the one who didn't really work?
Well, he was a tailor, but yes, correct. I never remember him working.
Right, so he was the tailor, okay.
And he also died when I was 8 years old, so I didn't really know him
so
well.
that's Grandpa's, okay, on your mother's side.
No, my father's side.
So now tell me about your mother's side.
My mother's side.
Also from Hungary.
They came from the same general area. My mother's mother died when my mother was 12.
And she took care of her sisters.
And yes, my mother did, but they moved to Monticello, New York, because the weather was good there. It was the mountains, and they thought the air would clear her, her disease.
They thought she had tuberculosis,
correct.
Right? And subsequently they learned that it was cancer.
Correct.
Okay, so your mother's side moved up to Monticello. Any idea when?
Probably
in the 30s?
In 1934.
Okay, before the Borscht Belt was the Borscht Belt.
Right.
So they went over there. So tell me about your father's.
My father's mother,
right.
Who I emulated, because we would go to Grandma's house for every Jewish holiday. We would come from Monticello to New York. The whole family gathered in this tiny little apartment in the Bronx. And Grandma somehow had one table that opened all the way up. Every relative pretty much got a seat. The young ones ended up at the table, and the older parents sat on the sofa behind because Grandma believed that it was important to educate the young ones.
Okay, so tell me about your dad.
My father was terrific. I adored him. His name was Joseph Hertz. I don't know
You
where
went to
Hertz.
college, I remember.
Yes, he went to City University. He was like a great mentor for me. He was a man who always smiled, never showed anything about himself when he was in pain, even when he was sick and in the hospital shortly before he died. He died when I was a region president in the Nassau region of Hadassah. And I have to say that it was, for me, one of the most difficult experiences I watched because he suffered as he died. I mean,
So tell me about Mom, how she met your dad.
my mother graduated high school in Monticello, so she went to New York because she wanted to be a secretary or something of that sort. This is in the early 30s. They met at a party for Jewish people that was arranged in New York City. I have no idea which organization did it.
Now, your dad at this time had completed college. What was his degree in? Any idea?
Something having to do, no, I honestly don't have an idea. It's something having to do with history, but I honestly don't know.
So all of a sudden, your father, who was born and bred in New York City, now learns, he meets this woman whose family grew up in Monticello, okay? And you told me...
They fell in love.
I agree, they fell in love, but you told me that part of the deal was he had to move back up to Monticello.
Yes, you have a wonderful memory.
Why did they have to go back to Monticello?
Because my mother's father had lost his wife, etc. But most important part of that is that he had a shoe store in Monticello. He did shoe repairing and sold new shoes. And he wanted to find a new wife, I think. And so he moved to New York, my grandfather.
So Grandpa moved to New York while your father
took over
and
the
your
shoe
mother
store.
took over the
That's
shoe
right.
store.
But my mother knew how to repair shoes because Grandpa taught my mother how to do it. So despite her interest in becoming a secretary, she was far better at repairing shoes. And one day, someone from a program called What's My Line, you're too young to remember, but came and asked her to be on What's My Line, and she didn't want to. She said, this is what I do.
So did she go on the show?
No, refused it.
Okay, because she didn't want to say that she was a shoe repair person.
Right, right.
So you were born before the war, okay, in Monticello. So you have a brother? You had a brother?
I have a younger brother who was born 4.5 years after me.
Right.
Can I tell you my age?
You can tell me exactly.
I'm going to be 82 in January.
Okay, great, wonderful. So you're born in 1938. So tell me about living in Little Monticello, New York. In the winter, maybe 4,000 people?
Correct.
So tell me about growing up
Well,
in Monticello.
Monticello was the center of the Borscht Belt, so to speak, and people came up in the summer, so the numbers in bungalows and in housing units and in hotels expanded enormously during the summertime. But in the winter, I graduated from high school in a class of 78 young people in Monticello High School. And we went to a school that had a grade school and a intermediate, whatever they call it, middle school, and a high school, all in the same one street.
Now, you said to me that, I think it was your father who wanted to give you some Yiddishkeit or to teach you and your brother about the value of being Jewish. Tell me about
No question, no question. My father had an excellent Jewish background. He went to yeshiva for part of his education, and he was a true, I would say, Jewish scholar. At least that's how I viewed him in those years. We belonged to when I was little, the only synagogue in town was a Orthodox synagogue around the corner from my father's shoe store on Liberty Street. anyone who watches this program is going to say, oh, Liberty, I remember Liberty Street. But at any rate, shortly after I was born, there became a conservative synagogue also in town. So there were two synagogues because there was a sizable Jewish population in Monticello at the time, even though it was a minority, but it was sizable for those years. My father really taught me about the importance of lighting candles on Friday night. He taught me about the importance of all of the Jewish holidays, which he believed we should always celebrate as a family. It was really how I got to love and be proud that I was Jewish.
Why you decided to become a nurse? So tell me the story with Alan.
I was dating in high school a boy from New York City whose name was Alan.
Wait a second, how did you meet the boy from New York City? You were the Monticello
He worked in Monticello in the summertime. Everybody. He actually worked for a relative in a kosher butcher store delivering orders. Alan's mother was in New Jersey visiting her eldest son at the time. She was hit by a bus in New Jersey. We would go every single weekend to visit her in the hospital on Sunday in New Jersey. She had devastating injuries. She recovered from them, but she had multiple fractures, legs, arms,
So this
head.
is what created the empathy for nursing.
I watched the nurses. I didn't know the doctors, but I watched the nurses and I thought, wow, they're doing something really good and something for people. And before that, I really had never thought of becoming a nurse. And I said, I really want to be a nurse.
Now you graduated high school, I think, at 16 or 17?
17.
At 17. How did you decide to go to the Mount Sinai School of Nursing?
My family doctor, who introduced me to my current husband, because he decided that after all the years of being a busboy and a waiter in the mountains during the summer, he was going to spend his going into his second year of medical school visiting the Monticello Hospital. So my family doctor said to me, Marlene, I have a very nice young man for you. I was already engaged to Alan. You'll make fun of me now. But when I met Robert, it was like a magical moment for me.
Now, Robert was in medical school?
He was in medical school at the University of Louisville at the time.
Right. So you come to Mount Sinai, and you live on 98th Street of the residency up there. And at that time, nursing was a 3-year program.
Correct. Well, nursing was most hospital-based programs, right?
Right, they were a 3-year program.
Correct.
And then when do you get married to your husband?
When he graduated medical school, he did an internship in Pennsylvania. And that's when we decided we would get married. Once he finished his internship, he became a resident at NYU. So on a free weekend, don't laugh, on a free weekend when we knew that he was free and had the following week he could take off, we decided to get married on October 29th, and it would have been, oh my goodness, 63, our daughter was born. It was 1959.
So it's 1959 that you and Robert get married, okay? He finishes his residency.
Right.
Okay, in OBGYN, correct?
Right.
You continue going back, you're working as a nurse. Where are you?
At Mount Sinai.
At Mount Sinai. Then you go back to Columbia and to Adelphi to get your...
to work on getting a degree, right.
So you got the degree. So you get married in 1959. You're living in Manhattan originally. No, you're in Queens, correct?
Well, originally we were in Queens because my husband got a job when he finished
at Booth
medical
Memorial.
school and he finished his residency. He got a job working with one of the heads of a department of OBGYN, took him in, and that was the beginning of, our
So
family.
you lived in you were one of the first people to move into Lefrak City.
Well, first we lived in Kew Gardens for about, I think it was 2 or 3 years, and then we moved into Lefrak City.
From Lefrak City, the girls were born, right?
Right.
And then you moved to this new community called Manhasset, right?
Well, Manhasset Hills.
Manhasset Hills. So, but what happens then is the beginning of this, let's say, 55-year or even close to 60-year involvement with charitable involvement. Let's talk about how you got involved initially with Hadassah, where you were the 21st international president.
I was originally, I was home one day and somebody rang my doorbell. In those days they did this and said, would you like to come to an afternoon tea? And I was very excited because that day I had the woman who was the housekeeper. She wasn't a full-time housekeeper, but she came once a week at that time. So I went to the tea at someone's home. It was the beginning of my involvement in Manhasset Hills in community life. So at this tea, I said I'll join Hadassah.
You were 24, 25 at this time?
25.
Now, Hadassah was established when?
Henrietta Zold established Hadassah shortly after she went to Israel and found all these people on the street and trachoma in their eyes and so forth. So we're 106 or 7 years old now.
So you start as a member of Hadassah.
Right.
Within 6 months, you become the vice president of the chapter, I believe?
President
of the chapter. So you've traveled to Israel probably over 300 times?
Yeah.
So talk to me about Hadassah and explain what Hadassah has been doing today.
Today?
Hadassah of old, and when you became, I think it was 1995 that you became international president, as I said, the 21st international
Well,
president.
actually, national president. We did not have an international, we had a small international organization, and then you just automatically, that followed my presidency, the international part. But I will say that Hadassah, for me, introduced me to the whole neighborhood. I mean, you just get involved with people. It also introduced me to other organizations. I joined other organizations in that area. I became very involved. You name an organization and I was involved in it because I had the good fortune to have 3 terrific daughters, and it was easy for me to, in the daytimes, go to meetings, or at night when Robert was home to, go to a meeting. And as my children got older, they all went to the Herrick school system. As they got older, I felt it was important for them to know that their mother was involved in activities outside of just being the homemaker, even though I respect homemakers.
Now, what is the mission today
of Hadassah? Hadassah currently continues to have in Israel 2 major hospitals in Jerusalem, a hospital on Mount Scopus and a hospital at Ein Kerem. But there are 2, as I say, major hospitals in Jerusalem. The main reason for 300,000 people across the United States, mostly women, and we do have now a men's organization that's part of us, although they're independent in that sense, but they do raise money for the hospitals, as we continue to do. We also continue to raise money for youth villages, for disadvantaged children in Israel. I loved every minute of being able to say that I really enjoyed participating in organizations that did good things for people.
Now, in addition to Hadassah, you said to me you were very involved with the disabled. Talk to me about the disabled, why you got involved, and what organizations you've been involved with.
In 1980, I received a phone call from a gentleman who was the head of a wheelchair basketball team that was coming to America from Israel. They were Israelis who were part of a sports center for the disabled in Israel. And he asked me if I would arrange to house the people, which was complicated because they all used wheelchairs, you know, or most of them did, and then introduced them to people who would in the future fundraise for the Israel Sports Center for the disabled. I absolutely loved the group that came, and I loved the next group that came 2 years later, and I found myself feeling that I was doing something very worthwhile for people from Israel. And Israel was a focal point for me. And I thought it was very important throughout the entire 80s until 95 when I became national president and my time was more limited. But I used to bring them over to the United States. They did fundraising. They would participate with other wheelchair teams from America, wheelchair basketball teams in those years. And then in the later years, they started playing tennis. And so they participated with Americans. But the games were amazing. We would go to the Nassau Coliseum, for example, and people would come out to see, number one, Israelis. Number two, they were disabled, playing against a group of Americans who were disabled. And the putting together of the two different groupings of people was amazing to me. They liked each other. They got to know each other. I'm talking about the American disabled and the Israeli disabled. And at the same time, we were introducing Americans to what Israel was doing for disabled people.
Let's talk about Birthright.
In, oh my goodness, what year now?
It's about 20 years.
It is 20 years, about 20 years ago. They came to meet with me to tell me about their dream. At the time, two other people, they came with their aides and said, you know what, if we want to save the next generation of young Jewish people, we have to offer them something that will connect them to Israel above and beyond their bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, and give them something that will be meaningful to them. And they told me about their ideas. I thought the idea was exciting. Yitz Greenberg at that time was also involved. Charles, this person, I really have forgotten his name. It'll hit me afterwards. But the beauty of what they wanted to do really hit me hard, because I suddenly realized this was an opportunity to take 17, high school graduates. They had to have graduated high school and have gone to some kind of program, either a university program or something else, but to take young people to Israel so that they would have the emotion and the feelings that these two gentlemen had and the people who they were working with. And I said yes. They wanted to know if Hadassah would give, this was the first question, would Hadassah contribute $5 million to the activity? They were each contributing far more, 20 million, so forth. But, and I said, if you'll come to a national board meeting and speak about it, I will be happy to support it, publicly support it to Hadassah. They came to a national board meeting here in New York. There were a few hundred people, women in the audience. I believe it was Michael Steinhardt that actually did the speaking at that. Oh, Jeff Solomon, who was working for Charles Bronfman at the time. But I think Michael spoke, and people were very impressed. And then Jeff Solomon spoke. Yitz Greenberg spoke also. And these people actually excited the Hadassah women to want to do this. The vote was, it was not a 100% vote, I have to be honest. There were about 40 people out of 200 some odd people in the room who voted not to do it. But the rest all voted to support this new idea that Hadassah should be the first organization that put money into Birthright Israel because it was a brilliant idea to save the Jewish people at that point, was how they thought of it. That young Jewish people would have a chance to go to Israel, they would see Israel for themselves, and they would come back with a positive experience.
Let's talk about family. Tell me about the girls and their kids and their husbands.
Well, my husband, Robert, who's an OBGYN, did not deliver any of the three girls. Lisa, the oldest, became a lawyer. Deborah, the middle one, became a lawyer.
Okay, tell me about Lisa's husband and the kids, the grandkids.
Lisa married Perry Gershon. Perry is currently running in Suffolk County, I think I may have mentioned.
And
they have two boys.
Okay, so that's one daughter. The next one?
The second one is Deborah, and she's married to David, and they have two girls, Kayla and Lara.
Okay, and now grandmother, third one.
Okay. The third one is Pamela, and she has two children.
And her husband?
And her husband is also David, so that makes it easy. And she has a boy and a girl.
So I think the real key is the roots from Monticello spread around the world. And as I could call you a community activist because I've met you in many charitable endeavors, we've been lucky to have Marlene Post to do what she's done to the community, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you.